Court appearances have begun for the accused in the alleged plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Of the 13 charged, 6 of them are facing terrorism and conspiracy charges. The other 7 are facing charges of providing material support and possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony. The criminal complaint alleges that the 6 men who planned the kidnapping met repeatedly over the summer, hatching a plan to attack the state capitol or the governor's vacation home.
When I put my hand on the Bible and took the oath of office 22 months ago, I knew this job would be hard. But I'll be honest, I never could have imagined anything like this.
The 7 other men are facing state charges and, according to investigators, are part of an extremist group called the Wolverine Watchmen, with plans to target law enforcement and government officials with the goal of starting a civil war.
The individuals in custody are suspected to have attempted to identify the home addresses of law enforcement officers in order to target them, made threats of violence intended to instigate a civil war.
Brothers Michael and William Null are a part of the group of 7 facing state charges. They both took part in a recent armed demonstration in Grand Rapids, protesting Governor Whitmer's coronavirus stay-at-home orders. That's William on stage. The man speaking is Dar Leaf, the local sheriff in Berry County, Michigan, who is now publicly defending the brothers.
It's just a charge, and they say a plot to kidnap. And you got to remember that, are they trying to kidnap? Because a lot of people are angry with the governor, and they want her arrested. So are they trying to arrest, or was it a kidnap attempt? Because you can still, in Michigan, if it's a felony, you can make a felony arrest. And I think it's MCL 764.4 or something like that.
The law he's referring to is this one, 764.16, arrest by a private person, which lists certain circumstances where a citizen can make an arrest.
It doesn't say if you're an elected office that you're exempt from that arrest.
But it was the brothers and the other 11 men, not the governor, who were taken into custody.
All right, and now another man, Brian Higgins, has been charged in the state case. So there's 2 cases going on at once. One is the state case, the other is the federal case. Well, tonight we've got our hands on some of the evidence that is being used in the preliminary hearing in the federal case. Now, cameras don't get inside federal courtrooms, but we did get some evidence for you tonight. It's an alleged training video for this militia. Let's take a look.
Bye, bye.
Keep moving.
Steve and I are looking from first section.
Again, this is the training video that prosecutors are using as evidence against this militia, perhaps wanting to start a civil war. I don't know, where you're going in a civil war if your vehicle is a PT Cruiser, by the way. But the plot here and the allegations are extremely serious. And if it's a federal case, they've got 15 audio recordings. They've probably got a handful of videos, and they've got some people on the inside who are going to testify. That's the way feds prosecute cases. That's the only way, for the most part, that they prosecute cases. Let's bring in Court TV special contributor Ashley Banfield. Ashley, let's talk about what the defense is saying here, because they've sort of tipped their hand in what their approach to all of this is going to be. And we know how the feds prosecute cases, but they're saying, listen, this was just all talk, and it was really the informants who were working for the government who were pushing this plot forward. They were just talking the way they talk, they talk a big game, but it was the informant who was pushing it forward. How far do you think they'll get with that type of an argument?
Yeah, the old entrapment. My suspicion, and I'm going to preface this by saying I haven't seen the entire case file yet, but I've seen a lot, is that they won't get past go, and they will not get their $200 on the Monopoly board. because there are so many moves in furtherance of this conspiracy that can be outlined, that this wasn't just all talk. I've seen lots of cases where you could really make an argument that it was all talk, and on appeal, actually, people have prevailed, reversing convictions because it really came down to mostly talk and not action. But oh my Lord, Vinny, let me. Can you indulge me for a second? Can I
Sure.
name some of these? Okay, 'cause I hope you're comfortable. Everybody get a snack. Um, they got together and met with more than a dozen of these members in Ohio. So actually traveled to have that meeting. They made contact with a local militia group that was known for sort of plotting to kill police officers, and then had several more meetings all throughout the month of June. They then discussed the need for 200 men, because that's what it was going to take to storm the Capitol and take hostages, including the governor, and then to carry out the trial of Governor Whitmer for treason. And then they actually created a meeting space that was very secreted, a basement that you had to go through a trap door, and you had to physically give your cell phones over to the leader, allegedly to put in a box so that he would take them upstairs. So that's a pretty strong furtherance of a plan, when you're actually finding a spot, meeting together in the spot. You're no longer just yapping on Facebook about your, what you want to happen. You're actually physically meeting, and you're making the meeting quite careful and secret. I guess they didn't know that one of the informants was wearing a wire. So it didn't matter that they took his cell phone. Then they used code words to actually carry out the planning. Baker is somebody who was apparently used to, the person responsible for manufacturing the explosives, and the cupcakes, so nice, was what the explosives actually were. And are you still comfortable, Vinny? Because I'm not done. There's still other acts here to go over. They attempted to actually make and test the explosives. Now we're getting real close to carrying out the actual crime, not even just, taking steps to further it. Then they actually narrowed down the attack targets to the residence or the vacation home of the governor. Then they drove there to surveil it, allegedly, and actually checked out the underside of a bridge for places that would be good to detonate a charge. You're getting where I'm going, right? There was also field training that you just showed some video of there, and they pooled money. I am not a federal prosecutor, but if I had all of those things handed over to my desk by I think it's over 200 state and federal law enforcement officials who executed warrants on these people, all I'd be able to say in a very loud voice to all of those officers was, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much for this, because that's what I call really good evidence.
So how dangerous do you think this group is? I mean, at this point, we have 13 or 14 that are under charges. Some are state charges, slightly different. Got 6 or 7 in the federal system right now. The training video, they're jumping out of a PT Cruiser. Don't know how far they're going to get against the U.S. Army in the Civil War with the PT Cruiser. But how dangerous do you think that they are?
So that's always been, that your first sort of line of reference is, oh my goodness, are these guys kidding? I mean, they really think they're a big deal, don't they? And I would honestly reckon that pictures of Timothy McVeigh before the Oklahoma City bombing were probably similar, in which we could decry him as just a goofball who's just angry at the world, and what's he going to do with that Ryder truck? I mean, a Ryder truck, really, Timothy McVeigh? So I don't discount anything. Explosives are explosives. They can do terrible damage. And you know something? Al-Qaeda members actually don't have a whole lot of gear either, and they do silly training videos too. And then they lock up a Jordanian pilot in a cage and set a line of incendiary liquid all the way to the cage, and then actually set him on fire alive in the cage for everyone to see. So don't discount, petty militia people who think they're a big deal. They can be. And if you ask Governor Whitmer, I'm sure she would say, a trial and a summary execution out in the woods, that's plenty dangerous. And all you need for that is rope.
So taking a step back now, looking at the big picture, what's happening and has been happening in our country throughout the summer, right? We've got this plot. You've got a group that took over part of Seattle during the summer. I mean, took it over. Police not allowed in. No one's allowed in. Armed security walking through the streets of this section of Seattle. You had other groups burning down government buildings in the United States, burning them down. What's going on?
Look, I think we're in a really polarized period in this country, and I don't think the rhetoric coming from Washington is helping anybody to come to resolution or come to Jesus or come together or anything else of the sort. And I think that that's been, kind of codified now in these charges against these guys who really, if the charges are true, wanted to kidnap and try and potentially execute a governor. It really just I can't believe we're having this conversation. And I say I can't believe we'd have the conversation that a bunch of people would take over the streets, of a major city in America and say, this is our town now. I mean, it just defies logic that the craziness that has just seized and paralyzed both sides from any kind of rational thinking or reasonable behavior is kind of a snapshot in time. It's not the America I emigrated to. I have to say, this has always been the shining city on the hill, this country. And it's certainly not the country that represents that same ideal. I hope it's temporary. I sure hope it's temporary. And I sure hope that Facebook can maybe tamp down the incendiary way that people are sharing these kinds of concepts that are so internally damaging. But listen, do I have the answers? No, I just like to look at the evidence.
Speaking of evidence, we have another piece of evidence from that preliminary hearing, and it's a post by Brandon Caserta. He's one of the alleged militia members. Let's take a listen to his own words.
And I'm telling you what, right now, man, I'm going to make this 100% clear, dude. If this goes down, okay, if this whole thing, starts to happen, I'm telling you what, dude, I'm taking out as many of those as I can. Every single one, dude. Every single one. And if you guys are going to give any of these a chance, any of these gang criminal government thugs that rob people every day, if you're even going to give them a second to try to speak or tell their story, don't even with me, dude. Don't even with me. I have zero patience for immoral, coward criminals. Okay? And guess what? I'm sick of being robbed and enslaved by the state. Period. I'm sick of it. And these are the guys who are actually doing it. So if we're doing a recon or something and we come up on some of them, dude, you better not give them a chance. You either tell them to go right now or else they're going to die. Period. That's what it's going to be, dude, because they are the enemy. Period.
I mean, that's a scary post. That's extremely scary. And you can just hear the anti-government everything.
Vitriol. Yeah.
It's a
out
hatred.
of them, right?
And I look around and what changed, in this COVID shutdown, what seemed to set off this group was the fact that, okay, now you can't go here, this place is closed, you have to wear a mask, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then we've got another faction that gets set off by the actions of police. And no one's happy with the government right now.
One of the pieces of evidence actually has one of the accused spouting off on social media, all in the offings of this movement, about gyms being closed. So that kind of set that guy off, that the gym was closed. Look, it's okay to be angry. A lot of people are angry, and they have good reason to be angry. Lots of people are angry on all sides of what our cultural sort of devolution is coming to. But when you start suggesting killing people because of it, you don't have that right. And that was that the sheriff? I've seen a couple clips of him on the news, making excuses for, well, there are laws to say, kidnap's okay. Like, no, it's not okay. You can't just go grab the governor because you don't like her policies. That is not legal. A citizen's arrest is a very unique thing, and there are actual rules of engagement for that. Usually it means that you have immediate knowledge of a crime being committed. But just policy that you don't like, no, you don't get to make a citizen's arrest of a government official for that. People are just kind of running amok with what they believe their rights are. And again, it's not that you don't have the right to be unhappy or angry. You do. You're not allowed to act on it in that way. That's not free speech. That's called crime.
Exactly. That's when you cross the line. Ashley Banfield, thank you so much.